Salvete omnes! Welcome to this video lesson on Fabulae Syrae 28, or Duo de Triginta. And we're looking at section 3, Nausicaa. Nausicaa fuit pulcherrima puella. Nausicaa was a most beautiful girl. Now, Nausicaa is a character in the Odyssey that, as we see in a moment, Odysseus, the famous hero, is going to meet. So, Nausicaa was a most beautiful girl, filia Alcinoi regis, the daughter of King Alcinous. Qui in insula Phaeacum nomine Scheria magna cum prudentia regnabat, who reigned or ruled, qui regnabat, on the island of the Phaeacians, okay, in insula Phaeacum. Phaeacum is genitive plural from Phaeax. Nomine Scheria, by the name of Scheria. So Scheria is the name of the island of the Phaeacians. Magna cum prudentia, with great wisdom. Okay, so that's describing how he ruled, right? The daughter of King Alcinous, who ruled with great wisdom on the island of the Phaeacians by the name of Scheria. Olim Nausicaa, once upon a time, Nausicaa, cum aliis puellis et ancillis suis, with other girls and her maidservants, ancillis, in ora maritima pila ludebat, was playing ball, pila ludebat. If you play a thing in Latin, the thing that you play at, whether it's an instrument or a type of game or whatever, goes into the ablative. So thus pila, notice here, is ablative. She's playing ball. On the seashore, in ora maritima. Illa sicut Diana inter nymphas. She, the Illa is referring back to Nausicaa, just as Diana among the nymphs. In other words, like Diana among the nymphs. So sicut is introducing a simile. Nausicaa is being compared with Diana, and the nymphs are being compared with the other girls and the maidservants who are with her. Omnium formosissima esse videbatur. She seemed to be, videbatur esse, the most beautiful, formosissima, of all. Omnium, genitive plural. So that's completing that comparison there. Again, Nausicaa, just like Diana, is the most beautiful in the group of many others. Ceteris puellis, celeriter currite clamabat. She shouted to the other girls, ceteris puellis, run quickly, celeriter currite. Hook, hook, pilam iacite. Here, here, throw the ball. Imperabat Nausicaa. Nausicaa ordered, ut ad se pilam mitterint ancillae, that the maidservants, ancillae, should throw the ball to her. Now notice here we've got an indirect command. Okay, so imperabat, ordered or commanded. And then the ut introduces the indirect command clause. Those will always start with ut or ne. And then mitterint is the imperfect subjunctive here. Just as a reminder, if you've forgotten how to form that, it's mittere, the present active infinitive, plus just put an ending on there. In this case, it's the nt for they. All right. So Nausicaa ordered that they throw or send the ball to her, right? That the maidservant send the ball to her. Quam dende ipsa manus extendens captam ad ancillas versus iaciebat. Now, here we've got a nice little Latin clause. The quam refers back to the ball, which notice pilam is feminine, so thus the feminine singular accusative form here, quam, which then, dende, she herself, ipsa, extending her hands, okay, so she's holding her hands out. Captam, so notice captam agrees with quam. It literally means caught or taken, captured, right? I think caught is the best here because we're talking about playing catch with a ball, right? Which she herself then, extending her hands, threw after it was caught, koptom, because the koptom is a perfect passive participle. It means caught, but it means, caught as in a completed kind of verbal adjective, right? Having been caught is one way we sometimes translate those. She throws it ad ankylos versus to or towards the maidservants. Now, we would say that somewhat differently in English. We would say which she caught and threw, right? But what it says in Latin is something more like which, then she herself extending her hands through, having been caught, to the maidservants, right? Okay, moving on there. So again, that's normal in Latin to do that. The koptom, because of the ending, tells us that it describes the ball, right? Because it refers back to quam in the accusative singular feminine. And it shows completed action, so that's how we know that it happened before the throwing. Also just common sense, right? You catch it first, then you throw it. Okay, moving on in 155. Pila abuela adbuelam mulabat. The ball flew, abuela, from girl, adbuelam, to a girl, right? So girls are throwing it back and forth. Nequeumquam ad terram cadebat, and not ever did it fall to the ground. Quia puellae tam cupidae erant eam capiendi, because the girls were so desirous of catching it, so eager to catch it, we might say, right? But notice cupidae, desirous, is a normal meaning of that. Capiendi is the genitive of the gerund for taking or catching, right? So desirous of catching it is kind of the most literal way to say that. But again, we would just say probably so eager to catch it. Ut cadere non sinerent, that they did not allow it to fall. All right, now that is a result clause there. The tom is a signpost word telling that we likely have an adverbial result clause coming. Result clauses always start with ut, thus ut cadere non sinerent. And sinerent, like up above with mitterent, is another imperfect subjunctive. All right, continuing in the next paragraph. Postquam vero diu hoc modo inter se magno cum gaudio lucerunt. But after, for a long time, they played lucerunt, perfect tense, in this way, hoc modo, among themselves or between themselves, inter se. Remember in Latin you can't say played with each other or with one another, because those are reciprocal pronouns, and Latin has no reciprocal pronoun. There's no word for sort of each other or one another. So you have to do something like this. So, but after they played for a long time in this way among themselves, which is another way of saying with each other, magno cum gaudio, with great joy. Okay, so they were having fun. Regis filia, the daughter of the king, pilam ad ankylam tam alte yecit, threw yecit, the ball to a maidservant ad ankylam, so high, tam alte, ut illa capere non posset, that she, meaning the maidservant, was not able to catch it. Cecidit autem, moreover it fell, in mare, into the sea, fluctusque, and the waves, eam ita secum traxerunt, and the waves so drug it along with them, secum, that is, with the waves, ut mergeretur, that it was sunken, submerged, something like that. Itaque. I should perhaps pause here for a minute. Okay, so the waves drew it. The eam, of course, refers to the ball. Notice it's a feminine pronoun because that word for ball, pila, is feminine. So they drew it with it so, or in such a way, ita. Ita is another of those signpost words, like the tom up above. So that warns you that you've got an adverbial result clause coming. And again, ut mergerator. Ut is the first word in a result clause. And again, mergerator, notice made from mergere plus an ending. So it's, again, an imperfect subjunctive. All right, going on in 161. Itaque, puellae, simul omnes, tam magna voce clamaverunt. So the girls, at the same time, simul, or together, all, omnes, shouted with so big a voice, so loud a voice, we would probably say, ut Ulysses, that Ulysses, and by the way, it looks like Ulysses, right? In Latin, that's how you say it. You say Ulysses. But we in English can translate this to Ulysses, but you need to know that Ulysses is just basically the anglicized version of the Roman name Ulysses, which is the same person as the Greek Odysseus, right? So Ulysses, and Odysseus, they're all the same person, right? Okay. They shouted with such a great voice that Ulysses, or we could call him Odysseus, notissimus ille Graecorum dux, that most notable, that most famous or well-known general or leader, dux, of the Greeks, qui in silva prope litus dormiebat, who was sleeping in the forest near the shore, subito excitaretur, suddenly was woken up. Okay, so this also is a result clause. Okay, notice it started with ut ulixes, and then excitaretur is the imperfect subjunctive verb. The signpost word that tells us that result clause is coming was the tom in tom magna voce. All right, continuing in 165. Ulixes enim, for Ulysses, qui multos annos per Maria eraverat, who had wandered, for Ulysses, who had wandered for many years through the seas, tandem, at last. Nice word. This is a synonym for postremo or damum, danaque. Magna tempestate cohorta, with a great storm having arisen. That's a nice ablative absolute there. Tam valde fluctibus jactatus erat, had been tossed about, jactatus erat, pluperfect passive, so very much by the waves, tam valde fluctibus, ut nave fracta, that, and here we're starting another result clause, with his ship broken, nave fracta, ablative absolute, in phaeacum litus eicaretur, he was tossed out on the shore of the Phaeacians. Ubi, where, Thesus longum somnum caperat, tired, Thesus, he had taken a long sleep. Dum vero, but while illas puellas spectat, he was watching those girls, sic se cum loquitur, so he speaks with himself. Now in Latin, you generally think or speak with yourself rather than to yourself. In English, it's much more common to have the idiom to oneself, right? So he speaks to himself, we would say. Hell me miserum, alas, poor me, quorum in terra mueni, into whose land have I come? Mueni is the perfect tense form here. Quae sunt illae puellae? Who are those girls? Utrum sunt bonae et probae? Are they good and decent? Anferoce, saevae, atque inhumanae? Or are they ferocious, savage, and inhumane? Or uncivilized, perhaps? Now, you might ask yourself, why would he be saying such a thing? Well, Odysseus, during his travels in the Odyssey, meets some really awful things like, wild, violent cyclopses or kyklopes, to use the Greek plural, and also like giants that ate people, uh, all kinds of horrible people, right? That he runs into, witches that, turn you into animals. So he has good reason to think that they might not be nice. And that's why he's wondering this to himself. So the utrum on is introducing the double part question: are they good or decent, or are they da da da, right? Utrum introduces the first part, on introduces the second. It's kind of like whether it's this or whether it's that in English. Okay, continuing at the top of the page here: utrum humanus clamor ad meas haures pervenit. Has a human shout reached or arrived at my ears? An nymphae clamaverunt, or have nymphs shouted? Now, if you don't know what nymphs are kind of minor goddesses, so they are immortal, but they don't have sort of the powers of an Olympian goddess or something like that. But they are immortal and they have some powers. All right, or have nymphs shouted? Quae in montibus habitabant, nymphs who live in the mountains. Queen ipse rim experior, why don't I myself test out the matter, try out the matter, get experience of the matter? Notice our word experience comes from experior, which is a deponent verb, which means to test or try, or in other words, to undergo an experience. Why don't I try out the matter myself? Nam intantis tam multis periculis versatusum, for I have been involved in such great tantis and so many tam multis, perils, dangers, or risks, periculis, ut nunc, that now, and here we're going into another result clause, nihil iam temeam, I fear nothing any longer. Haec locutus, having said these things, e silva egrediebatur Eulixes. So Ulysses went out, egrediebatur, from the forest, e silva. Ex arbore quadam, from a certain tree, ramum multis cum foliis fregit, he broke a branch with many leaves, manu, with his hand. Okay, so he just grabbed it and broke it off in his hand. Ut partes pudendas sibi tegerit, in order that he should, or that he could, we might say in English, in order that he should cover, conceal, tegeret. Notice that that verb tego, tegeri is related to protect in English. In order that he might conceal or cover for himself, sibi, his, we could just say private parts here, okay? Partes pudendas. Pudenda in English comes from this. It's partes pudendas literally means something like parts to be ashamed of or something like that. Okay. Perexit autem ire. Moreover, he continued to go. Perexit is the perfect tense of pergo, pergere, which means to continue. So, moreover, he continued to go. Velut leo, like a lion, just as a lion. There's another simile. Qui descendit de montibus, which has descended from the mountains. Okay? So he's so shaggy, and he's coming out of the woods that he looks almost like a crazy, like, mountain lion. Nudus et sordidus, tam que terribilis, visu erat. Naked and dirty and so terrible, visu erat, he was to look at, all right, or to see. So visu here is an ablative supine, and supine, whether they're the accusative case or the ablative, you say to whatever. In this case, visu is the supine from video, videre, to see, so we say terrible to see. Okay, so naked and dirty and so terrible to look at, to see. Ut puellae omnes, that all the girls, cum primum eum conspexerunt, when first they caught sight of him, huc et illuc fugerent, animo turbatae, fled here and there, disturbed in their mind, all upset. Sola altem, alcinoi filia mansit. However, or moreover, altem is a tricky word because sometimes it indicates kind of adversative situation like but, and sometimes it's more like you're just moving on. All right, so moreover, the daughter of Alcinous remained, Mansit, alone, sola. All right, so she's the only one that didn't run away. Eamenim dii audacim fecerant. For the gods, dii, had made, fecerant is pluperfect, had made her, eam, bold, daring, audacem. Metu igitur desposito, therefore, with her fear put aside, stetit, she stood there. Ulixem spectans, looking at Ulysses, qui ad eam versus veniebat, who came towards her. Ulixe saltem, Ulysses, however, eam intuens, looking at her, nesciebat quid faceret, did not know what he should do. Now, quid faceret, following nesciebat, quid faceret is an indirect question. So if you think about a thing or you say a thing here, not knowing a thing, these are often called head verbs. And then the question that goes after that is called an indirect question. So he did not know quid faceret, what he should do, what he was to do, something like that. And notice that faceret is subjunctive, in this case, imperfect subjunctive. So you'll always have a subjunctive verb in an indirect question clause. All right, Ulysses, however, looking at her, did not know what to do. Tandem, at last, vero, however, his verbis eam precatus est. He begged her, beseeched her, precatus est, with these words, his verbis. Utram dea an mortalis est. Are you a goddess or a mortal? Another of these two-part questions, utram an. Sienem mortalis est, if you are mortal, beatissimi sunt parentes. Your parents are most blessed. Okay, he's going to lay it on here. Odysseus, or Ulysses, is a very, very clever guy. He knows exactly, the clever thing to do in any tricky situation, and he is figuring it out here. Okay, I have nothing, I am naked, I am worn out, I got washed up ashore, I need help, let me just flatter this person just beautifully. And he does it. For if you are mortal, most blessed are your parents, beatissimi fratres, your brothers most blessed, right? Anybody related to you, they're lucky people. Profecto eorum animi semper laetantur. Absolutely, their minds are always happy, laetantur. Cum vident te, when they see you, quae sicut flos es, eorum domus pulcherimus, who are, quae es, like a flower, sicut flos, a most beautiful flower, pulcherimus flos, of their house, domus eorum. Okay, so let's compare her with the most beautiful flower you can imagine, and there you go. Flatter her really well. Omnium vero beatissimus ille erit. But of all, that one will be, ille erit, most blessed, beatissimus, qui te xorem ducit, who will lead you as wife. Now, of course, this is the idiom for marry, so who will marry you, we could say. The most blessed one of all will be the one who will marry you. And he's probably using the future tense here because it seems, and this is the way it seems in the Odyssey as well, that Nausicaa is a young princess who has not yet wed. So she's probably young teenager here. Nondum enim talem mortalem videram oculis, for not yet have I, or had I seen, right? Had I seen, because videram is pluperfect. Such a mortal, talem mortalem, with my eyes, oculis. Neque virum, neque mulierem, neither a man nor a woman. Okay? So he's never seen anyone so amazing at all, whether they be male or female, right? He just said, you are the most amazing mortal in existence. Again, if you want to flatter people, you can take it out of Odysseus' book here. All right. Formam tuam et pulchritudinem admiror. I am amazed at your shape and your beauty. Now, formam can be a synonym for pulchritudinem. So your beauty and your prettiness. I don't know if we wanted to use two words for good looks, right? I'm amazed at your beauty and your good looks. Okay. Heri, yesterday, e fluctibus maris, quibus viginti dies jactatus sum effugi. So yesterday, Heri, I escaped from the waves, effugi e fluctibus, of the sea, maris, by which, quibus, I had been, or let's just say I was tossed. Jactatus sum, two-word form here. That's a perfect passive, right? Because sum indicates it's perfect. So, by which I was tossed, viginti dies, for 20 days. Saeva tempestas, a savage storm, in hoc litus me populit, drove me to this shore, ut ad hoc fortasse, in order that still, perhaps, etiam hic mala paterer, I might even here suffer evils, or ills, mala. Sicut iam aleis in locis passu sum, just as I have already suffered, passu sum, in other places, aleis in locis. Tu vero, but you, adiua me, help me. Tibi enim primae his interis occurri, for I have run into you, occurri tibi. I could also say I have met you, right? First, primae, in these lands. So he's like, I'm calling on you to help. Why? Well, because you're the first person I've run into. Ceterorum hominum, qui hanc urbim et regionem incolunt, neminem novi. I know we, no one of the rest of the people, neminem ceterorum hominum, who inhabit this city and region, qui incolunt hanc urbim et regionem. Okay, so he's explained himself to her. Urbim vero mihi ostinde, but show me the city, orote, I beg you, et da vestim ad corpus tegendum, and give clothing, da vestim, to cover the body, to protect the body. So tegendum, corpus, I think here it's more about covering than protecting, right? Very good. Let's take a break there, and we will do another video lesson to finish this up. Valete omnes.